Good morning. We're going to go ahead and get started. I am the host for this breakout room. So if you guys have any questions, just tell your teacher in your room and they can type them into the chat. And then at the end of this session, we will have a Q&A. And now I'm going to turn it over to Bailee Stoll. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much. All right, so just a brief introduction here about myself. My name is Bailee Stoll, and I am the Maintenance Supervisor at Pernod Ricard USA in Fort Smith, Arkansas. I have a mechanical engineering degree for my bachelor's, and then I also have a master's in engineering management. Both are through the U of A in Fayetteville. Pretty much, I like to play sports and watch sports. I have 3 younger sisters that are still in high school, and so I try to make it to watch them as much as I can. And then outside of that, I like to help coach some of their sports, but then also other sports, and play a little bit of golf myself since I'm out of the sports I used to play in high school. Other than that, that's pretty much all there is about me. So I can start talking to you about what I do at my job. I have, let's see, 21 direct reports. All of those are maintenance technicians. And basically what we do as a department, we maintain the facility. So you might think when you hear the term maintenance, you might think first off of like your school maintenance, buses, buildings, things like that. We definitely cover all that, but ours goes a little more technical. We have a lot of automation that we deal with, and computers and heavy machinery. So you're talking about greasing, chains and sprockets and roller conveyors, a lot of automated processes. What our facility does is we bottle liquid. So during that process, it's pretty cool, the different ways that those bottles come in. Some of them come in stacked on big pallets. So you have tier after tier of empty bottles, and then a machine unloads those bottles automatically and starts sending them down the line. They go through a cleaner, go into the filler, and then get capped, go down the conveyor to the labeler, get a label put on them, and then get packed into a case and shipped out to the customer. So all those processes are pretty cool. Some of our processes and upstairs bottling, we have the bottles come in already in the case, and they come in upside down, and then they go through an unloader, and those bottles fall out of the case right side up. The case makes its way down the line, the bottle makes its way down the line, and then they meet back up at the case packer and get packed up and shipped to the customer. So it's a pretty cool process, a lot of automation, like I said, a lot of machinery, and my department is responsible for maintaining all of that. But we also have auxiliary equipment. So we have some automatic forklifts. Essentially, they're not a forklift per se, but they carry pallets on top of them. We call them robos. And then there's also 7 automatic cranes. So we have a part of our facility called a high-rise, and it's completely blacked out. And what I mean by that is there are physically no lights turned on in that area, but there are also no human operators. It is all automatic and uses our systems here to tell each other where they're putting a pallet, and then whenever the warehouse calls for that pallet, the system knows where it was. So it'll take it, send it to a bottling line if it's for dry supplies, but if it's finished goods, then it'll send it to the warehouse to get shipped out. There's a lot of maintenance that goes into that because we have to mechanically maintain those cranes and mechanically maintain those robos. But then there's also, like I said, a lot of automation work that goes into it, and programming. And The programming side of it, my maintenance team, I have a few on my team that are capable of those skills. But for the most part, there is another department that deals with that part of it. They used to be part of the maintenance field, but now they're more on the engineering side. So we have all that. Let me see any other things. We have boilers, chillers, got your HVAC, your air conditioning and things like that. So if you can think of any type of maintenance work, that's what we do. As for my job specifically, I have my direct reports. I have 3 different crews, B shift, C shift, and A shift. And then into that, they work different days of the week. So on my A shift crew, for example, I have 2 guys who work Sunday through Thursday and 1 who works Monday through Friday, and then another one who works Tuesday through Saturday. We don't always run production 24/7. Sometimes we do, but when we're not running, I got to have people here getting some work done while the lines are down. So my job is to help those crews out any way that I can and manage them. I'm responsible for also, we have a maintenance planner outside of that. He plans the maintenance work each week, and then we really work together pretty closely to make sure that what we're planning is getting completed, and then that we're planning things that are feasible to be completed. So we go through that. I also have a crib attendant on site, and he's on my staff as well. So we're responsible for purchasing and receiving any, it's called MRO purchasing, but it's maintenance reliability operations purchasing. And we're responsible for that function in the facility, making sure that if we have a part that breaks on the line, we have it stocked and we can get it right then and there, not have to order it and wait for it to come in. Uptime and maintenance is a big deal. So that's kind of what we focus on. Aspect of it, build a project in that was at a different company, and I was responsible there for managing projects. We have departments like that here, but when I came here, I started as the maintenance planner and had goals to become a project engineer, but decided I kind of liked the maintenance side of it a little better. It is, I would say, pretty mentally demanding because it's just one thing right after another most days, and you're constantly fighting fires. And then for my guys, it's physically and mentally demanding. For me in my position, it can be as physically demanding as I want it to be. I I still get out there and try to do things on my own that I can and not tie my guys up from more important stuff. But for the most part, we all just try to work as a team and get things done as quickly as we can. As far as education or skills required for my position, my education, I think, definitely helped put me ahead of some of the other applicants for my job. So like I said, I was the maintenance planner when I started here in February of 2020. And then that position is under the maintenance supervisor. And the maintenance supervisor retired last October. So I applied for that position and then got the promotion in January. So I definitely think that my education helped set me apart, but it was the work that I did as a maintenance planner that really helped me get the promotion, because that education, because it was engineering background, I hadn't had just a whole lot of experience in maintenance, but just to show, being able to show that I was able to work through a tough 4-year degree and then continue and get my master's in a management related type field, it means a lot. But beyond that, my degree, you don't have to have one, I guess is what I'm trying to say. If you have the experience and the skills to do this job, then the degree is not a necessity. Now, I know some companies, the higher up you get, like their managers and things like that, they do want them to hold a degree. But I also know some companies that if you have 10 years experience, then they will take that as well, because you can't buy your experience. So it means something when you have those skills needed for any job. Let's see. Some other jobs in my field that are similar to mine, I would relate it to the engineering side of it, definitely the project engineering side. We do a lot of projects within maintenance, and that's what the engineering department is doing. They're just doing it with basically different money within the company. But they're working on improvement projects. How much more product can we run? How can we increase our capacity? From the maintenance perspective, we are trying to ensure that the life cycle of our equipment is extended as much as possible, and we can keep it running as much as possible and keep it in good condition. So I know up in Northwest Arkansas, where you all are located, there are a lot of consulting firms for engineering. I personally did not go that route in my career. I liked the project engineer side of it better. But when you do consulting engineering, you're the one actually doing the engineering part of it. So what I did basically was, I know enough about the process to understand it and argue things if I need to, but I'm not the one actually performing the engineering. I can, but when you're in that position, you want to pay someone basically, and so you pay a consulting firm to do that. So if you really like the design aspect of things and you like making new things, consulting engineering would definitely be a good route to take. Let's see. Salary and pay. So for a maintenance supervisor position, I would say that a decent pay range is probably in the $75,000 to $95,000 area. It honestly just depends on how big the company is that you're working for, what type of work that they do. But then it's also good to note that some companies have their maintenance supervisors in a different spot in the hierarchy. What I mean by that is, here from the top down, we have our senior director of the plant, our director of operations, our maintenance manager, me as the maintenance supervisor, and then we go down to my maintenance technicians, and I have group leads within that. So other places like Simmons, for example, they have a maintenance superintendent, a maintenance planner, a maintenance supervisor, and then their maintenance technicians. So depending on how that hierarchy works, that salary range will fluctuate. But for how my hierarchy is, that range is probably what I would say is good for this position. And then advancing within my field, I don't have to go up, thankfully, and I think that's a good company thing. And what I mean by that is, I don't have, my only option is not to move to be a maintenance manager. That's not my own, I'm not stuck within that. I do have the capability to move laterally and potentially go to bottling and be a supervisor, or go to the warehouse and be a supervisor of processing and learn a different section of our plant, basically. And then that would put me in a good position to then move up into maybe a manager role. But ideally, I think I would like to stay in maintenance. I went into engineering because I like to solve problems. I'm a problem solver. It's what I like to do. And that's why I also decided I liked the maintenance side of it better than the engineering side. I'm not much of a designer. And I think that's kind of a misconception that is probably given about engineers, is that you have to be able to design something from nothing. And that's not the case at all. I like the problem solving side of it. Give me a problem, let's solve it and solve it the right way. And if I need to do engineering along the way, then great, you know, we can do that. But you don't have to be able to come up with something out of nothing. If you can, awesome. Like, definitely, you know, like, go into the consulting engineering field, get some experience there, and you know, test your skills and things like that. And then my company overall, it is a great company, a lot of benefits. We have a really good retirement program. They match a percentage of what the employee puts in, but then at the end of the year, they also put in an extra 5% of what you made within that year. So for the adults in the room, I'm sure you all know that's probably a big deal. Most companies only match, and if they do, it's not very much. You're not getting any extra. We have really good insurance, tuition assistance. I actually completed my master's with the company and they reimbursed me for it. Additional training, I was able to go on a business trip in August for some training on a new piece of equipment that we recently purchased. I took 3 of my maintenance technicians with me. And so that was really cool to be able to go and do that. And definitely, especially right now, I know everyone's hiring, but the bad thing, I'm going to say bad thing about our company, you have to be 21 years or older to work here. So at that point, free game. We have tons and tons and tons of positions out here, specifically in maintenance. I'm hiring, engineering is hiring, bottling definitely is hiring, being an operator, being a line lead. You know, don't think that being an operator of something is a bad thing, because it's definitely not. We rely really heavily on our operators and line leads to tell us about the equipment. And once you get to a certain point, you know, you understand the process of bottling so much after being an operator, you do have that potential to move into a supervisor spot because you're able to help those below you move through it. We have forklift drivers in the warehouse, and then processing is where we do all of our blending. So that's where we make our product. And that process is really cool as well. I've not gotten to learn a lot about it because it's pretty self-sufficient. The management team over there, they're top notch and got it going on. So we spend most of our time in bottling. But other than that, I think we're probably ready for questions. I can't think of anything else to go over.
All right, thank you. We do have a couple questions. And also, if you guys have any questions out there, go ahead and just put them in the chat and I will ask them. What kind of classes would you recommend to take in high school to prepare for a job like yours?
Probably, I would recommend taking like any science classes that you can and any higher level math. And so let me preface this with, no, I do not use high level math day to day, but what I always tell people is math classes are not so that you know how to find and factor equations on your day-to-day life. Math helps you problem solve. That's what math is for. It's teaching you to be a problem solver. Science, same thing. And then any classes that your school offers that's like welding or shop class or any kind of technical class that you have available to you, I would definitely recommend that. Learn how things work. And that's going to definitely put you in a good position, specifically from a maintenance perspective. If you have that ability to see something, you know it's broken, you need to understand how it works to be able to fix it. So that's what I would recommend.
Thank you. How many years of college are required to be a mechanical engineer?
I completed mine in 3.5 years, but that was with taking some classes online in high school and taking a few summer classes. So if you're just going to do it as your standard 4-year degree, basically it's going to take you 4 years. If you do it as a full-time student and basically your traditional student, if you will, it's a 4-year degree.
And would you recommend the University of Arkansas for an engineering degree?
Definitely. They're very accredited college, and I've had no complaints from the program's perspective itself. But the big thing is you want to make sure you're going to an accredited school, and the U of A is one, and it's a very highly accredited school. So I would definitely recommend it. I know there are some other schools. I think Vanderbilt has a good accreditation for engineering as well. So you have options, but definitely just make sure that you're going somewhere that has good credibility.
What kind of soft skills did you have that made you stand out from other people when you applied for your current job?
I would say probably just my ability to communicate with the team. It helped because I was already involved with the team prior to applying for the position. But I was already working so closely with the maintenance technicians as the planner, because in the planner position, I was the one making their schedules, assigning them work orders, following up on stuff, asking them questions about the work orders, things like that. So I would definitely say communication with that team was probably the biggest skill that I had set aside from everyone else.
What kind of software do you use day to day?
Day to day, I use Excel a lot. I've also started to use Power BI. I would definitely recommend looking into Power BI. It's kind of like Excel on steroids. It's really cool and is very useful for data analysis if you can get it all set up right. And it really aesthetically like just looks cool too. You can do a lot of cool things with it. I don't know how advanced high school classes are now in terms of Microsoft programs, but Power BI definitely is something that's up and coming, and I would recommend. A lot of big companies are moving to use it for their data analysis. So definitely look into that. But mainly Excel. The program that we use to manage our work orders is called Oracle JD Edwards. And that one, it is nationally known, but I don't know if it's as popular as some others. When you all start looking into companies and things, they might talk about SAP. That's a pretty popular program for people to use. And ours it's the same thing, just different company, basically. We use Outlook, Microsoft Word. We have some internal programs that we use. And then we also use a program called Hubble, which talks to JD Edwards to pull reports and data from that system. So, but general user things, Excel, Outlook, Microsoft Word, Microsoft Teams. We use Teams a lot. for meetings, especially whenever COVID was going on. All of our meetings moved to online, and we used Microsoft Teams for that. But it's also a good way to share information. So, you know, you have files in there, kind of like a Google Drive, basically. You have files that anyone can go in and out of and update, and you can see who updated what and when they did it, things like that. So.
Thank you. What qualities do you look for when you are hiring someone in your department?
So when I'm interviewing someone, I'm looking for a couple of different things. Well, maybe a few. First off is their skill set. I need to know if the skills that they have will meet the requirements for the position I'm hiring for. So every one of my staff is called a maintenance technician, but at the same time, I have different levels of maintenance technicians. So if I'm hiring, let's say, for example, a level 1, then I don't need to have as high of a skill set as I would a level 3. So I'm looking at their skill set first. Can they achieve what I need that position to do? Because you don't want to hire someone that basically you don't want to set them up for failure, and you don't want to set your department up for failure. So make sure that if you're going to hire someone, they're capable of doing the work. But the two most important things that I look for are their attitude during the interview, and then also their willingness to learn new things. Those two are kind of hard to pick up on in an interview sometimes, because a lot of times you can get a first impression that's really good, and then once you get them on your staff, things are not like you thought they were going to be. But you can tell for the most part someone's attitude for sure towards like working with others. When I do an interview, we have a set of questions that we ask every applicant, and one of them is, you know, when is teamwork important, and to give an example of when they use teamwork. And then another one is asking them if they've ever had to work with someone who was difficult to work with, and how did they handle that person. So those two questions kind of give me a pretty good indication of, okay, is this person going to fit well in the crew that I need them on? Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you are the most skilled person. If you're going to cause issues within my current crew, then it's not worth the trouble of that skill set. So definitely have a good attitude. You're not always going to like people you work with, but if you can deal with them, then, you know, that works out too.
Thank you. What kind of community scholarships can you get as an engineer?
I don't know current scholarships, honestly. It's just because I haven't looked into it since I was going to college. But when I went, so the way I did my degree was through the university in Fort Smith, so UFAS. And basically the U of A and UFAS have an agreement where they allow students to go to school on site at UFAS, but they do video chats with the professors from U of A for their engineering classes. And they also have 2 U of A professors on site in Fort Smith to teach engineering classes in person. So I was able to apply for a, I think it was called a Baldor Engineering Scholarship through UFAS, and get that. And then I also received a scholarship, it was a local one from my high school, but it wasn't engineering specific. The only one that was engineering specific was that Baldor engineering one. So, and kind of playing off of that, if you did want to, let's say you wanted to go to U of A to get an engineering degree, but the cost was a little too much, then you could definitely look at coming down to Fort Smith and going to UFAS, because your total fees are less to go there, but you're getting your degree from the U of A. So it's kind of a cool setup, and that's what I did to save money. So that would definitely be an option for those of you that want to look into it.
Yeah, that's great. So what is your favorite part of your job and what is your least favorite part of your job?
My favorite part is probably, let's see. I don't know. Overall, I really do enjoy my job, and I would say the favorite part is being able to help the different departments get things going or solving problems for them, working with my team. I have a really, really great group of people that I work with. And so getting to work with them and learn from them, it is probably the most enjoyable part of my job. There's people on my staff and other places in the plant that have worked here for like 30 years. So they know this place like the back of their hand. They have so much knowledge. And so that's probably the most enjoyable part to me, is working with them and learning from them, because you just can't, it's just all experience. You can't just get it overnight. And so learning those things from someone who's done it has been fun. I'm going to say the least favorite part right now is just, this is my first management role that I've held. And I'm young, I'm only 26. So everyone who is under me is older than me. I don't have any issues with that part of it per se, but for me, it's trying to navigate how to deal with personnel issues. And so it's kind of one of those things. How do you tell someone, hey, I need you to step it up, you're not doing your job very well, and not cause issues among that person? Because if someone came up to you and was like, hey, you're kind of sucking it up, you got to get it together, probably wouldn't take it very well. And so that's probably been my least favorite part right now, is just trying to navigate the best way to have those conversations, but still keep the peace, not, cause issues, things like that.
Do you have to write a lot of reports as an engineer?
Yes and no. So the reports that I do, and they're not necessarily like a report as you would think, like, a big stack of papers, a lot of writing. That's also, speaking of that, and one thing that if you could find like a technical writing class to take, I would definitely recommend that. So when you're doing technical writing or a report in my field, they just want the facts. Like, when you're in your high school English class, you're trying to fluff it up, you need 5 pages, all that. This is not the case here. They want graphs, they want facts, they want data. So that's what a lot of my reports are. I do a report every week for my manager, and it is about our compliance as a maintenance team. So did we get the work done that we said we were going to, and did we get it done on time? And so I pull all that data, get it all sorted out and filtered through, and make graphs and use Excel to do all this at Hubble in Excel. And we recently started trying to do part of it in Power BI. So those reports, like I said, they're data driven, and I just have short sentences in there saying, a summary, like, or explaining what they're looking at. So I'm going to say it just depends probably on what field you go into. There are also reports that have to be done, especially in the engineering part of it. If you do consulting engineer, you'll do a lot of reports because you're reporting to your customer, hey, this is my engineering plan, and you've like laid it all out. There's a lot of details. So that would be a pretty extensive report. Still just telling them the facts and stuff. So you're not trying to fluff it up. But depending on how big the project is, there may just be a lot to say about it. From a project engineering standpoint, you have a lot of reports from a like permit stance. So, any work that we do at our facility, we have to fill out a permit and report on it, turn it in, report on it, make a job hazard analysis. I would consider that a report as well. So I'm going to say that it just depends on, like I said, kind of which part of engineering you go into. If it's design, probably are going to do a lot more, but either way, you're still going to be looking at a lot of data and stuff as an engineer.
What hours do you work at your job?
I work typically, I try to be here around 6:30. Some mornings I'm here at 7, but my set hours are 7 to 4 roughly. But I try to be here around 6:30 because my A shift crew, they leave at 7:30, and so I want to make sure that I'm here in enough time to talk to them, see what happened that night, ask if they need anything from me, things like that. And then I try to leave around 4, kind of for the same thing for my C shift crew. So my afternoon, evening crew, they come in at 3. So I try to make sure I at least have an hour with them to see if they need anything from me, have any issues, things like that. So it's about, on average, 9 hours a day is what I end up working roughly.
Thank you. What is the job outlook for a student just getting an engineering degree?
So I would say that, so are you asking it? I'm gonna ask a question to your question just so I understand. Are you saying you've just gotten your engineering degree and so you're out of college trying to find your first job, or are you saying while you're getting it, what is the job outlook?
I don't know because it's a question someone asked, but I would assume they mean you just got your engineering degree
Okay.
and you're trying to find a job.
Okay. So I would definitely say the consulting engineering firms, they hire a lot. Okay, I see the chat pop up now. I would say you could probably have a job before you even graduate. It's not something that you have to have your degree in hand for someone to hire you if they know that you are about to get it, about to graduate. A lot of companies will actually hire you like within a month of your graduation. Consulting firms are very popular for hiring first year engineers, and then also manufacturing companies, they are popular for having like programs for first year engineers. So the company that I worked at prior to this, they had what they called was they called it the MA program. I'm trying to think of what it stood for though, but basically it was a 2-year program that they had, and it was for first year engineers. Like that's what it was geared towards. So I don't think that it would take you very long at all to get a job in any field of engineering, and definitely start looking. Well, first of all, I would get an internship. If you can find any internships while you're in school, I would definitely do that, because then if you are doing well, the company that you're interning with will more than likely keep you on full time after you graduate. But even if that company doesn't, having that internship and experience will help you get a job at another company. But if you choose not to do an internship, that's completely fine. I would just start looking, like when you start your last semester, start looking for jobs, go ahead and apply. A company may go ahead and hire you while you're doing that last semester, and just do it as like an internship type period, and then move you to full time after you graduate.
One last question, unless someone else has a question they want to add. Can you use a personal phone at work, or do you have to use a company phone?
So I use my personal phone. I do have the option to use a company phone, but I have used my personal cell phone number for work for so long. I just chose to keep my personal phone, and I didn't want to carry two phones. Now my company, other companies, I don't know if they do this or not, but my company, if I wanted to, I could get a company phone and transfer my personal phone number to my company phone. So I only had to carry one phone. Um, but I just wasn't real comfortable with that, not for any particular reason. I mean, I don't think that basically the company would let me use their phone as my personal phone. Some companies will not let you do that, but I didn't feel right using a company's phone as my personal phone in case I ever decided to leave, or whatever the case may be. I just wanted my personal stuff basically kept separate from a company device.
Right. Well, thank you so much for talking with us today. We really appreciate it and learned a lot about engineering and your job. Is there anything else you need to add?
I don't think so. I think I tried to cover most of it anyway.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank y'all.
Bye.
Bye.